What if you were the living embodiment of all pervasive peace? What if all sentient beings all around you increase their vibration towards harmony by merely being in your contact? What if, through conscious reasoning, focused will, and intentional living, you reform yourself, thereby becoming a catalyst in sparking transformation in others? I'm Shilpa Lewis, meditation, mindset, and mindfulness coach for midlife mompreneurs, and you are listening to Omnipresent Awareness, the podcast that will inspire you to use your story to serve humanity in not just healing, but thriving as souls, each fulfilling their highest purpose. Namaste. Thanks for tuning in to Omnipresent Awareness. This is your host, Shilpa Lewis, and welcome back. Okay, so I'm running a little challenge as I'm trying to get more people to discover this podcast and the conversations that inspire those who value personal growth. And the best way to do that is to leave reviews. You can leave a review on Spotify, Google Podcast, or Apple Podcast. So here's a little request from me to you. If you feel like you have received any value at all from these episodes, then please write a little review and take a screenshot of your review. Once you've done that, email that screenshot to me at omnimindfulness@gmail.com. Once I get your screenshot, you will receive one of my infographics. Spark your meditation practice through Sankalpa. Sankalpa is the Sanskrit word for intention setting. Along with this, you'll receive a link to my guided meditation where you can daily practice intention setting with some inspirational music and breath work. This infographic, along with the guided meditation, is guaranteed to have you start your practice for meditation with a spark. It is my gift for you for being a listener, being a supporter, and of course for you to be able to manifest the best meditation practice. So thank you for showing up, listening, and being inspired, and most importantly, taking action. I appreciate you. So again, please don't forget to take a screenshot of your review and send it to omnimindfulness@gmail.com, and I will send you that infographic and the link to the guided meditation. And now, a conversation recorded with my partner in awareness, Tanya, from our joint podcast, Mindful Mompreneur Moments. And oh yeah, if you could, please listen to the very end of the podcast for powerful insights from our guest. Thank you. Up next, Kasey Knose, Disholicious blogger and passionate wine viticulturist. Kasey lives in Carlsbad, California, with her husband Bill and 2 sons. She served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 4 years as an air traffic controller before being honorably discharged. She went on to work in the mortgage industry for 13 years as a senior loan processor and underwriter. She also worked at Wells Fargo Mortgage industry for several years before their loan volume slowed down and she was laid off with many other coworkers. At the time, her husband ran a successful business, and together they decided Kasey would stay home and figure out what it was that brought her joy. Kasey knew that she wanted to work in the culinary world, but she wasn't sure what direction to go. So she started a food and wine blog called Disholicious. And through that blog, she met several people in the industry. One of these people was wine sommelier Meghan Vergara of Veritas consultants. In working with Meghan, Kasey met other people in the wine industry, and she was invited to join the Women's Wine Alliance of San Diego. As a member of the Women's Wine Alliance, Kasey was able to attend the SommCon in San Diego. While attending that conference, Kasey sat in on a Women in Wine event, and that's when Kasey realized that she wanted to work in the wine industry. She went home and discussed it with her husband, and she decided to start the Viticulture and Enology program at MiraCosta College to complete her associate degree and turn to the Wine and Spirits Trust of London and Napa Valley Academy to complete her WSET in wine certifications. Kasey is now only 6 classes away from graduating from Miracosta College, and she is about to start her Level 3 WSET with the Napa Valley Wine Academy. After graduating, Kasey looks forward to starting a new career in the wine industry, a place that she finds so much joy. So stay tuned to listen to Kasey's story.
Kasey, once again, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hi, Kasey. Thank you for being here. We'll jump in. My first question is, what does intentional living mean to you?
Intentional living to me would be is basically being true to yourself, being honest with yourself. I know a lot of people, I think that some people kind of have a fear of being honest with themselves. For whether it's societal reasons or pressures from, outside forces in their lives, but it's just really being honest in your path and your core values, and being compassionate with yourself. You have to be kind to yourself. And I think a lot of people really struggle with being kind to themselves, especially moms, because moms are so busy all the time. And so we're the last person that we usually think of. We're always thinking of, where do I need to take this kid, or what's going next? What do I need to get done today? And so they don't really take time out to really, take a breath and think, wait a minute, what about me? What is my goals? What is my true, desires? And I think that's more about intentional living.
Absolutely. And I know that you've got 2 children. You probably experienced that juggling as well.
Of course.
Yeah. How old are they, Kasey?
My 2 boys are 7 and 9.
Oh, wow. That's close. My daughter is 6 and my son is 8. So it's 2 years apart.
Yeah,
and then
so
I have
close.
the little one. Yeah. But I totally.
It goes by so quick.
Yeah. And I really like that you mentioned that. And a lot of our guests mentioned the self-care part of being a mom. I really appreciate that answer, because it's so important for us to know that we need to be intentional about taking just maybe a couple of breaths a day, or just being intentional about remembering.
Yeah, most definitely. Because I know that, women get burnt out too, just as much, and I think that there's that's how I think a lot of moms can end up in depression, because they're taking care of so many things and juggling everything else for everyone else, that they never really take time for themselves. And that can be hard. I mean, that really can be hard, when you have, busy kids and a busy life,
I think that really will segue well with the next question, Tanya.
Yeah, which is just share with our audience your story at arriving at your second act, so to speak, in terms of how you use your gifts or skills professionally.
Well, for the longest time, for about 13 years, I worked in the mortgage industry. And I enjoyed my time. And I mean, I did enjoy my job, but the mortgage industry can sometimes be a bit of feast or famine. When the loans are there, it's great. Everything's great. Your bonuses can be great, but it's a real fickle industry. I mean, loans, all of a sudden can stop coming in. And I had that happen multiple times, in that industry. And that's stressful. It gets stressful because it's like, okay, well then, you might be getting laid off, and it's not because of anything you did. It's because they don't have any loans to give you. And of course, most of my time in that industry was, in the earlier 2000s, and then I rode the wave through 2007, 2008, when the mortgage industry, everything just came crashing down. All those foreclosures that were coming through, and trying to build the loan volume back up from time to time was a struggle. And so the last time that I got let go from a company that I was working for, a mortgage company, my husband said to me, you know, why don't you take this time to really think about what it is that you want? That what does Kasey want? You know, the mortgage industry I just kind of fell into, you know. And so I allowed myself to really, you know, do some intentional living, you know, to myself. You know, what was it that really truly, what was it that I wanted to do? You know, and I knew that I always loved cooking. And I mean, I collect recipes. I have probably thousands upon thousands of them that I'll never get to, but I collect them anyway. No,
please share with us. Yes.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that looks like a great recipe I'll never make. Let me collect that. No, but yeah, and so, but I knew that I didn't want to go to culinary school because that's another, I have friends that are in the culinary industry, and being a mom, that's a hard industry to be in. You know, if you work in a restaurant, you know, especially if you're, you know, one of the cooking staff or the chef, pastry chef, etc., you've got to be there every day early. You know, they've got really long hours, and you work all those holidays. You know, it's hard, you know, when you have two small kids. But I just knew I wanted something that had something to do with that. So I started my blog, Disholicious, and I really didn't have an idea of where it was really going to go. I was kind of like, well, do I just want to make recipes and share it with the world, or do I want to interview people? And so I started kind of trying to combine it. And I don't know if that was the right way to go, but I was trying to eke my way through it, you know, really find where my passions lie. And through doing that, you know, I interviewed a girlfriend of mine named Meghan Vergara, and she is a wine somm, and she owns a company called Veritas Consultants. And her and I sat here at my table for, gosh, probably 2 hours, just over a glass of wine, just talking and talking. And she started inviting me to more things, and I got to meet more people in that wine industry. And some woman asked me, well, why don't you join the Women's Wine Alliance of San Diego? Oh, okay. Well, I didn't even know that existed. So I was like, well, sure. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out. And because I was considered media because I blog, I was accepted into the Wine Alliance, because in that you have to be kind of in the industry to be a part of that alliance. And so, and through them, I got to go to the Somm convention in downtown San Diego, and I sat in on a women in wine, I guess you could say, talk. And all the women that were up on that panel were either women winemakers and maybe a couple of somms. And I'm sitting there listening to these women talk, and they're talking about how, you know, they didn't get into making, you know, as a winemaker until they were in their 40s. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm in my 40s, you know, and it kind of validated for me that I'm not too old to change. I'm not too old to go after something that's completely different, you know, something that I would have more enjoyment over, you know, than what I had been doing for the past 13 years or so. So I thought to myself, maybe this is something I could do. So I spoke with my husband about it. I'm like, I'm just going to go back to school. That's what I'm going to do. And so I am currently in school getting a viticulture and enology degree, which is the science of growing grapes and making wine. And I'm just shooting for it. And every day, you know, as I grow, and as I really look in about what is it really that I want, you know, let's go this way, let's turn that way, you know, I'm still to this day just kind of figuring out where that degree is going to take me and which road I want it to go down. Because in that industry, there's so many different shoes you can fill. You know, you don't have to do this one thing, or you don't have to do that one thing. And so, you know, it's just about what is it that I have to take that moment to be kind of selfish as a mom. And I'm like, what is it that I want though? Wait, what about me? You know, here's that my flag. Wait, hold up, you know. And that's where I'm at currently. And I'm finishing up wine certifications that are internationally recognized. The Wine and Spirits Trust has the WSET certifications. And so I've been working my way through those. And I've just been figuring it out as I go along.
What I find fascinating and so rewarding for you is that you have an amazing husband, first of all, who asked the question, what is good for Kasey right at this time?
Yes, he is amazing.
An amazing community, it sounds like, through a friend of yours. You were able to sit down and have wine for a while.
Meghan is amazing. She really is. And she even made her own wine recently. She's really great. And, because she's been in the industry so long, she really was somebody that I had in my, in my kids, I could talk to.
Right. And then that woman who inspired you, it's kind of like the signs were all there. It aligned for you to be in this
exactly.
Very nice.
Definitely did.
Two things. One is for the audience that may be listening and may not be well versed with some of the terminology. You mentioned somm. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, a wine sommelier. They're wine experts when it comes to the flavor profiles and the aromas in wines. I mean, somms also have more knowledge than that. I know a lot of somms, especially if they've been doing it for a long time, they increase their education and their knowledge of wine regions in general. But it's basically they're experts in the flavor profiles and the aromas of wines. They are hired a lot of times in big hotels and in restaurants to set up the wine list and to match them with different foods. My friend Meghan, she has gone beyond doing that. She's been a somm for, probably close to 20 years, I'm sure now. So she gives wine education classes and stuff, not just in what the wines taste like, but she can even give you the ideas of the regions they're from and the terroir, which would be the land. Terroir is how the land affects the grape, actually, physically, and the minerals in the soil, how it makes what it does to the grape, and that comes through in your flavor profiles of wine. Sometimes you can actually, that soil affects the way that grape will taste. That's basically what somm is.
I recognize some French in there with the sommelier and
of course there's so much French wine world, definitely that, and Italian, there's a lot of that.
You're learning to speak Italian.
I am currently I'm trying to keep my head above water. I had an instructor last semester that told me in my Italian class that I'm actually doing better than I think I am, but because it's such a new language to me, I thought it would be so much more like Spanish, because I took years of Spanish. There are some similarities. They're both Latin based, and they do have yes and no is similar, and if you count to 10, but there's just so many things that are different about the languages that I've had to get used to,
I find it fascinating.
Go ahead.
I find it fascinating. At one point you mentioned that you were at this event in San Diego and you noticed there were other women in the same age category making a transition or shift. I find that a lot of us are having this understanding that a second act could be not just a pivot into a different area, but you're taking the sum total of the wisdom you have and the passion you already had it in you, that you loved cooking it. It's just so wonderful. What insights could you share to inspire and empower women who are considering transitioning to their second act?
Well, you really need to be gentle with yourself, because it can be, making a transition, can be tough sometimes. It can be scary. especially if you've been doing what you had been doing for so long. We're creatures of habit. So something new can be a bit scary sometimes. So I think that women really need to give themselves some time to figure out what it really is that, that they want to accomplish, whether it's within their own personal lives, or if it's their careers, or in their relationships. And it's really important to find a good support system. I mean, like you said, that my husband, yes, he's been an amazing support system. And I think that that's key, because if you don't have that, it's not that you can't make the changes that you feel that you want or need to make. It makes it that much easier when you have that support, somebody at least to cheer you on, whether it's a significant other, a family member, or even, a close friend.
Absolutely.
And give yourself time. Nothing has to happen, within a matter of months or weeks. Sometimes those changes can take a couple of years. Just keep plugging along.
I mean, the catalyst for you and I meeting a few years ago was the passion for food. And that was the beginning of my pivot, or exploring, what do I really want to do? And where do I want to land? And some of us, like you and I believe Tanya fits this profile, we're multifaceted. We have many interests.
Of course. Well, and I remember even talking with you about those things. We talk about that quite a bit, like, oh, well, I guess I'm trying this. Well, maybe I'm going to try that. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I think that idea that, or to plant the seed and tell people that it is okay to have many ideas. If there's one that really lands, stick to it and don't get discouraged when something goes wrong, because inevitably there will be challenges.
There will be.
You just call them challenges and grow from them,
Yep, definitely.
I think when we're younger, the pressure that you need to get from A to B very quickly, get that degree, and that's going to define you for a very long time, if not. And I think we're embarking on a new generation. Maybe it's the pandemic that triggered it, but a lot of us are like, well, maybe I should explore that other thing, or many other things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell my kids, I jokingly said to them, well, mommy's just trying to figure out what she wants to be when she grows up. So
that's exactly what it is, though. That's exactly what it is.
And they just kind of look at me like, I'm like, never mind. You'll figure it out someday.
What a wonderful role model you are, because you are taking care of yourself, you're nurturing yourself, you're an example.
Well, thank you. And I never ever think about that, honestly. I think it's just more, and I think most of us moms do it. I think more about, what have I not gotten done, or what do I still need to do? Where am I lacking? And that's another area we need to be more kind to ourselves on, because I know that women do that all the time. I know I'm not the only one. I have had friends call me going, I'm about to lose my mind, and I'm like, step back, this is not great for you. The stress is bad.
Press
breathe.
The pause button. Yeah. And to Shilpa's point, it's so true. You're an amazing role model, because as much as we care for our children, we often don't show them the right way to care for themselves. So when they grow up, if they saw mommy go, they're going to think that's the way to do it. And if we care so deeply for our children, we'll let them know that, no, you have to think about yourself. There are times in your life when you will have to think of yourself first, so.
Of course. Yeah. Or, your mental health is going to take a toll on that
too. Exactly. Thank you so much, Kasey, for your time. It was such a beautiful conversation. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Kasey.
Thanks.
Thanks again for tuning in. Check out the links in the description, and please subscribe, follow, and share. And continue to be omnipresent.